people.
Awesome. Yvonne, so you start FlyNow Aviation in Europe, and that was years ago. And then you open a branch in the Gulf in Saudi Arabia. Can you just first of all explain what is FlyNow and how did you manage to expand to the Middle East?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I co-founded it. The idea was not mine. It's the CEO of our Austrian company called, his name is Jürgen Greil. He is a very accomplished and experienced person. And so I co-founded it. And yeah, we started 2019 in Austria. What we are doing is developing a modular family of eCopter, electric helicopter, flying automatically in predefined routes, transporting cargo and passenger. So we have different derivatives. First of all, a cargo version where we can transport 200 kilogram in the size of a Euro pallet. Then we
Hmm.
have a firefighting, a medevac solution, and a single and a twin seater. And yeah, it's like a small helicopter and net zero, very silent, very efficient, very affordable. And yeah, that journey lead us then to Saudi Arabia. Why? Because I got the opportunity to go to KAUST, King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, for they call it Destination Deep Tech program. And there I got into the ecosystem in Saudi Arabia, and we looked actually for quite a while to see what is the right market to launch our product, because you have to consider that is a complete green field. So the technology is under development, the market is not there, the regulations are not there, the customers are not there. Basically, nothing is existing. The entire ecosystem is not existing. And therefore, what you need is a country with a strong visionary leadership, with a market where the market size is there and where there are a lot of use cases for it. As well, you have to have a young, well-educated population, and yeah, all these prerequisites, and as well the financial means to come up with a new means of transport. So this were the reason why we started then in Saudi. I am here in the kingdom since approximately 3 years now, and we have our company now here, and we will do as well the market launch and the production in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Oh, wow. You're going to be producing as well locally?
Yes.
Wow, that's fascinating. And I wonder, Yvonne, like originally, because you mentioned it can move cargo, it can move people. Originally, what was the idea? Is it the need for people to move around above traffic in a quicker way, in a silent way, in a cleaner way? Was it designed specifically for cargo and then you added people? Like, what was the core idea? Or was it all together?
Yeah, so Jürgen spent decades of studying what are the requirements in mobility in the future.
Mm,
And first of all, it got very clear that all the big mega cities reached their limits in terms of capacity. And therefore, this is one big need, and as well in the logistics, there's a lot of requirements. And when you look at the automotive industry, you always have different derivatives sharing the same components. So we are repeating here the success story of the automotive industry, using the same rotor blades, the same e-motor, the same cabin, the same landing gears, the same battery for the different types of
mm.
vehicles.
Interesting. And I have experience in the aerospace industry, and I know that the regulatory environment is tough, right? You
Yeah.
can't have anything flying anywhere, not just for the safety of the passengers, but the safety of the people below. And then,
Yeah.
there's a lot of variables that go into it. Normal planes have difficulty. So normal helicopters have difficulty. So for someone opening a completely new market, do you think that it was a learning curve to navigate, or your past experiences, you and your co-founder were able to quickly go through this regulatory environment? What do you think about that?
It's a perfect question. And actually, Jürgen was very smart in this approach. So before we even founded the company, he went to the local air authority and showed them the concept. And after they said, we like it, we approve it, we support you, then we founded the company. And every development in hardware and software, we pre-align with the air authorities. This is one point. The other point is that we are not considered an eVTOL, we are considered to be a helicopter. So we have the advantage that we can utilize existing regulations in terms of CSVLR for very light rotorcraft and CS27 for helicopter. And this is a super head start because all the other companies need to wait till CSVLR in terms of in Europe is issued. And then you have to consider that no company before did a certification in this company in this category, and same applies for the regulatory bodies. So being a helicopter adds a lot of value to our company in terms of regulation. And then
Interesting.
you addressed that it's about the operation. So it's different types of regulation. And then everyone says, do you have a regulation? And then you look at different companies and they always claim, yeah, we are certified. And then you observe and say, okay, they have a certification in training and MRU and, operation, but not the vehicle itself. So you question, okay, what is going on here? So yeah, it's about the vehicle certification. And since end of 22, actually, we have the first approval in specific category Sale 2. So unless other companies, they are usually testing under preliminary permit to flight, we are testing under certification in specific category. And we did already approximately 400 tests now.
Wow. What do you mean by 400 tests? What does that represent?
So we are testing at Salzburg Airport and another airport in Austria. So on how the aircraft is reacting to fly around, to take off,
Is it the real thing, or is it like a smaller version,
Yes,
or is the
no,
actual size?
it's the actual size. So we are now testing the second iteration of the one-to-one prototype, which you see behind me. And
Which, by the way, looks super cool and amazing and futuristic. Please keep going.
Yeah, and before that, we flew two scaled models. So we flew two scaled models. Then we flew the first iteration of the one-to-one prototype, and now we are flying the second iteration of the one-to-one prototype. And we are currently in the middle of the series development of the cargo version, which we started 8 months ago. And you talked about this design here. This design was done by Anders Warming. He is now design chef for Rolls-Royce. And the new design, which you can see on our webpage, is done by Michel Clemov, who was a BMW designer. So
Awesome. And you know what? I have a question about production. All right. So let's say the ball starts rolling and you start having these eCopters flying around. Competition as that come in is gonna say, oh, there's a market for this. Maybe I can have my own. So you have the BMWs, and then you have, I don't know, the other brands on the side that come in.
yeah.
So are you focused on scaling production, or are you focused on high value single item? And in other words, do you feel like there's going to be a need for hundreds and thousands of these and you're preparing for that kind of market? Or are you taking it one at a time, order by order? How do you see this market evolving?
So what we are focusing on is really get into the scale of economy. And how do we do it? First of all, as described, the modular system. And on the other hand, we are the first OEM in history in aviation that focuses on automotive production methods in aviation. So producing one part will take a couple of minutes in our case. And we are capable to do in one assembly plant up to 30,000 units a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of flying eCopters, Yvonne. So let me ask you this. So we talked about the product and the production and the idea behind it. But let's talk about the clients. Let's talk about the customers. How has
Yeah.
been the feedback? You talked about the regulatory environments, that's fine. But how are people looking at it? Are people ready to see eCopters flying around? What do you think?
Yeah. So it's very interesting. We are quite often in the Middle East exhibiting our eCopter, and we enable people to sit in and wear VR goggles and fly virtually. And the interesting thing is that often people come and say, "Oh, I would never fly in this," and then sit in, try, have a virtual flight. You can take off the goggles anytime you want, and so they come out and say, "I can't wait to have it." But before we go into passenger transportation, we start with cargo. So we start in January in Riyadh here at Sandbox. And then when everything is ready, we start with cargo transportation. Then we will have cargo transportation and firefighting. And after that, we sit the passenger. So it's a step-by-step approach because we want the very safe approach. And it doesn't make sense to sit in a passenger right away in a completely new vehicle, which is flying automatically without a pilot. So it's a step-by-step approach. And as well, the ramp-up curve, it takes a while. So we start with 250 units, then 750 units, and step-by-step, then we ramp up. And we have a lot of requests from all over the world, from logistic companies, from firefighting side, medevac, search and rescue, and all of those applications. And we have signed MOUs for the first 1.5 years of production. So, yeah, I
Wow.
don't see that we can. That the market is not there. I see the issue that we will not be able to produce and ramp up as fast as is required.
Yeah, well, while you were talking, it just it just clicked with me. Here we have like these very large forest fires that happen every year in Canada, and they're very far away regions. I mean, there's just like one street in the middle of the forest, and there's no roads anywhere else. So to get there is almost impossible, and these fires stay for weeks. And so this makes so much sense to me to have something like the product that you have to transport goods or medical equipment to people in that area because it would take so long for people to get there and even put the pilots at risk because of the fires and the smoke.
Right, exactly. This is a big, big point. And what we developed in this firefighting system is not to start when the fire is really spreading, but as our eCopter is so affordable, you can put different stations into the national parks. You can observe with small drones and detect the fire and immediately start and combat the fire before it starts spreading. And by this way, we can save a lot of animals, trees, nature, and so forth.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really amazing. So you brought a good point. We're talking about the landing station. So how does that work? I mean, let's say you're in Riyadh, you're in Dubai, you're in whatever, in some country. Okay, people want to go from point A to point B, but where do they land? I mean, they can't just land in front of the parking of the restaurant, right? So there has to be
Yeah,
specific stations, and these
correct.
have to be built as well, permits for these. So talk to me a bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as every means of transport, it requires an ecosystem. So, if you look at the cars, you have the manufacturer, you have the MOUs, you have someone who builds the road, you have the gas stations. So, an entire ecosystem is existing. Same applies for when you look at planes, Airbus, or Boeing or whoever, they don't have their own airlines. They don't have their own ground station handling. They don't have their own airports. So it's an ecosystem. And the same will happen here. So we have partners that do the physical infrastructure, meaning the vertiports. We have partners for the air traffic management, for the routing, for the weather data, for the digital twin, for everything, insurance, for everything that is required to deliver a turnkey solution. And that is what we are working on in the sandbox that we start in 3 months from now. In order to develop the entire ecosystem that is necessary to operate.
Mm.
And yes, it requires vertiports and it requires, firefighting, access control, and everything that comes with it.
Amazing. Yvonne, I'll tell you what, since I was a child, like many children, we always dreams of seeing these things flying everywhere. And as I
Yeah,
grew older, I kind of gave up on the idea. I just thought, you know what, it's probably never going to happen. It's probably too complicated. But now while talking to you, I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is going to happen. And
it
it's
is
getting me really
happening.
excited.
It is definitely happening. And, when we founded the company in 2019, there were already 150 companies out there developing man-carrying drones. And what we observed is that they were all focusing on a luxury market. So,
Mm,
devices that cost millions. But if you look at the automotive industry, the breakthrough didn't come with Rolls-Royce, Ford, etc. Same with Ford when he introduced mass manufacturing with the Ford Model T. And we are considering ourselves to be the Ford Model T of the sky by bringing something that is affordable and available for everyone, giving everyone wings and enabling 3D mobility on a broad scale and not only for the upper 1,000 or 10,000.
that makes a lot of sense to me. And let me ask you this one last thing. Are you considering larger and smaller and different sizes, or are you going for the one standard mass production and let's get this out there everywhere?
When Ford was asked what colors are available or what are the different types, then he says, you can have every color unless it is black. So same will be with us. We have our configuration, and these are the 5 different types. So single-seater, twin-seater, cargo, medevac, and firefighting. And later on, some surprise, but I will not disclose that yet. But we're not focusing on different sizes because if you want to scale, this is the best way to do it. And we often get the questions here, why are you not focusing on a 3, 4, 5 seater like everyone else is doing? And the clear answer is, if you usually order an Uber or a taxi, you do that for yourself or for you and a partner, but you don't want to wait till 3, 4 other guests are joining you at the same time on the same route. So we are talking about individual mobility. And all over the world, usually in 9 out of 10 cars, only one person is sitting. Or when you order Uber, you usually do that for yourself. So it doesn't make sense to come up with a different configuration because if it's 4 passengers, well, you take two-seater. No problem.
Oh, that was a perfect answer. And also, if we take the analogy of another car company like Tesla, they don't have 50 models. They have a few models, and then they just
Yeah.
kept growing over the years. And that's probably the best way to scale. Yvonne, that was super fascinating. I'm so excited to see your product everywhere. And best of luck, and I'll be watching. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me and all the best.